Hi, my name is Jim Souls, and I was Chief of Police for 23 years in Prineville, and all total the Chief of Police for, 26 or 7 years. And I was President of the Oregon Association in 1997 and 1998. The association was really becoming more involved, I think, and a stronger involvement than ever before in the legislative process. My growth during that time, I think, was fairly extensive. When you're chief of police of a small town in Central Oregon, which is on the other side of the mountain from association headquarters and the legislature, Salem, which is a huge part of what goes on for the presidency, is based in and around Salem. And so that presented a lot of challenges. Plus my agency was growing during that time. Our city was growing, and so was the agency. And so balancing that, you had to make sure that you were taking care of things at home, as well as meeting the needs of the association and trying not to cheat anybody. And when I say at home, I mean your own home, your personal home, your workplace home, your community, and then doing association business. And I was on the road a lot. I mean, weekly I was going somewhere on association business, and I tried to tie some of the state together. So I was attending meetings in far eastern Oregon, going to all of their chief and sheriffs get-togethers and trying to build relationships there and a closer, making those folks feel that they were indeed part of the association and that they had a voice in the association, because in the most isolated parts of the state, they don't always feel they have a voice. And because the metro area seems to overwhelm, and they're not trying to do that. It's just there's way more of them, so that was a challenge. And then I tried to do things on, go to meetings on the western side with chiefs and sheriffs groups, as well as the regular association business. So it was a challenge. I had to grow. And I had to work really, really hard. But it was worth every minute of it. I really enjoyed it. And I got huge personal satisfaction out of that time period. I would really encourage new chiefs to understand the concept that they're not the first chief, and they're not the first one to face the problems and the issues that are coming down. All chiefs face these kind of issues. All chiefs deal with problems. That's what you do. And I would encourage chiefs to look around the state and find those chiefs that are the most successful and get to know them and pick their brains, get their knowledge, get their help. They'll help you. They want to help you. And then another thing is I want new chiefs to understand clearly, we're not elected politicians. We're appointed people. And that means we're not politicians, and you don't have to be. You have to be polite. You have to do your job. You have to be diligent. But you don't have to get reelected. Yes, you have to keep your job. You can be fired. But if you get fired for doing your job the right way, there's no shame in that. And don't play politics. Don't play favorites. Do the job with integrity. And remember what your job is as a police chief. You're there to serve the community. And that means you need to be accessible to the community. Now, I know in a huge department like Portland or Eugene or some of the other metropolitan departments, it's difficult for the chief to be accessible to every citizen. But he or she should have their high staff being as accessible as possible. And in the majority of agencies in the state, they're small. They're not large agencies. They're 35 and under. If you're that size of an agency, I know you're busy. In fact, you may be busier than the big guys because you don't have staff to do things for you. But be accessible, be part of that community. Meet with the community, meet with people. When I was chief of police, I didn't turn a call down from anybody. I didn't care who was on the other end of that phone. They might be very angry with me. They might be very happy with me. It didn't matter. I gave them time. I listened to them. And if I wasn't available, I returned that call to them if I wasn't sitting there. But if I was available to take that call, I always did. If somebody walked in to see me and I was able to break loose to go talk to them, I went and talked to them. To become a police officer, to me, was a huge honor. I think that somebody who's going to become a police officer needs to be called. You need to know this is where you belong. And you need to have a right heart about it. You need to be, if you're going to be a successful police officer, you need to be a servant. You're here to serve others. And sometimes, and thank God this is true, service allows you to take bad guys down and put them in jail. And that's a great service. And frankly, as a police officer, it's very, very fulfilling. But there's more to it than that. And you need to have integrity. You need to be integrous in everything you do. And sometimes telling the truth has a cost to it. But it's better than lying. You need to always be integrous if you're going to become a police officer. And being integrous means not just telling the truth when you're pinned down on something, but telling the truth all the time. And that means in personal and professional. If you're lying by cheating on your spouse or significant other, you're likely to lie and cheat to your chief of police. And if you'll cheat and lie to your chief of police, you're likely to lie and cheat in the court or on your reports, which lead to court. There's no place for people like that. I encourage people to be integrous. If you want to be a police officer, have a servant's heart and tell the truth about everything, and always try to do the right thing. One of the greatest benefits of being a member of the Oregon Association of Chiefs of Police is the friendships and the bonds that you build. When you become a chief of police, you're no longer one of the guys in your home agency or one of the ladies in your home agency. You're now the chief. You're the head guy, and you shouldn't be friends. You should care about them, yes, but you can't be friends with them and be an effective chief. You just can't do it. And so the association gives you an opportunity to build a network of brotherhood again and sisterhood. And it is. If it's done right, it is. Get to know your fellow chiefs. Just recently, I had a near-fatal motorcycle accident. It was last June. And I was unconscious. I didn't know what was going on, but my family did. And they knew that chiefs from all over the state were reaching out to them, to me. It was, can't tell you how important that was to us. And here I am getting emotional, but it's a good thing. It is an emotional thing. And I just would encourage you, take advantage of the brother and sisterhood that is here with the chiefs in this state. They're great people, and let's keep it getting greater. I had a ventilator in for 7 days. Couldn't breathe on my own. And they were keeping me unconscious, so I wouldn't fight anything, you know. And I was still under, but when you're unconscious, if you're not brain dead, you hear what's going on. You can be aware of it. And I was aware of what people were saying. And I remember being aware of hearing people talk about whether or not I was going to live.
Oh, interesting.
And I remember thinking, wait, can't I vote on this? Because they were all real negative. Nobody was saying, I think he's going to make it.
Were these family or doctors?
No, this are medical people.
Oh.
And I remember the devil came to me, and he came for me. And he started promising me all kinds of stuff if I would choose him. He said if I didn't choose him, I was going to die. And I would die right now. And he was off to my left. And he's just going at me. Just going at me. And I was being engulfed with this ugly, red and black, ugly. But he's a slick-looking guy standing there. But you can see the evil behind him.
Wow.
And I remember looking over to my right, and Jesus was standing there. It's like this, with a golden light. And I said, on the third day, when Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and the rock was rolled away, Jesus wasn't there. He had beaten death. He had risen from the death. And I choose Jesus. And I came out of a coma screaming, I choose Jesus.
Oh.